happy warriors. And I have to tell you that in the last couple of weeks, I've heard from so many chin pullers back in D.C. and the Beltway and the Manhattan area. Why are you so angry? Why wouldn't I be angry? Why shouldn't we be angry? Our liberty is at stake. Our kids' future and their kids' futures are at stake. The reason I'm here is to thank each and every one of you for raising your voices for individual choice, for liberty, for prosperity, and for our right of self-determination to do what we think is best for our children and our families. And we know, you know in this battle, that it isn't about party. I don't care what letter is after the name of the people that are trying to take away our taxes and confiscate our personal freedom. All of them need to hear this message. All of them need to hear that they will not be allowed to usurp our sovereignty at will. I've got to take some group pictures here because politicians here in this state capital and in the nation's capital need to understand that behind me, of course, smile. I love you too. And I love liberty, and that's why we're all here. What part of undo Obamacare do these politicians not understand? Of it. And these politicians in both parties need to understand that health insurance exchanges are socialized medicine through the side door. You can't say that you're going to comply with the law and oppose it at the same time. You can't do that. And we know what's going to happen with this regulatory beast. Obamacare is a hydra. You think you chop off one head and another one grows up and another one sprouts out. And each and every one of these things has turned into, or is going to turn into, $1 billion, trillion-dollar slush fund. Do you know what they're doing with the California Health Insurance Exchange? Did you hear about how they're spending the money there? They're using just a drop in the bucket. The first $1 million of the California Health Insurance Exchange Fund money is being used to provide Hollywood propaganda for Obamacare. That's right. They're going to be using those tax dollars to fund left-wing socialized medicine plot lines. Right? So maybe instead of the dating game, we're going to have the mandating game. Right? How I Met Your Mother, how I bankrupted your mother and your grandmother and your grandkids. Here's another thing you may have heard about. I reported on this several months ago. In conjunction with the health insurance exchanges, which some deluded Republican surrenderists think that somehow we can accommodate, there's going to be a $4 billion expenditure on setting up so-called nonprofit entities run by government, funded by government, to compete with private insurers. What reality do these people live in? It is another channel. It is another open door for the federal government to come in and control our health care choices. Who is talking about opposition to these things? Well, it's doctors and it's patients. It's not just us right-wing loons. It's not just us right-wing jihadis that understand the ineluctable force and drive here. This is about a federal takeover, and states and governors and people in those states shouldn't just hand it over to them. They want to do it. Let them do it themselves. Don't be enablers for this system. Do you know that the governor of Alabama yesterday announced that his state, in Robert Bentley in Alabama, that they are refusing to implement these laws. You have elected people who say that they're for the free market. They can't just mouth the words and the platitudes. They got to put the pedal to the metal and show that they actually believe in free market principles and they're not going to sabotage them in the name of bipartisanship and accommodationism. Over the last several years, one of the things that's become very clear about the forces of progressivism and the forces of the socialist left is that they pride themselves on telling stories, right? We've got the fabulous in chief in the White House. It is incumbent upon each and every one of us to tell our stories as well. And in the context of healthcare, of course, it's very incumbent on particularly medical professionals to tell their stories. You know what? I have heard from so many doctors, I live in Colorado now, who are considering quitting their practices because of the burden that the Obamacare regulations are causing them. This is the left's idea of progress? Winning the future by killing it? By discouraging the next generation of great medical professionals in this country? How about the taxes? All of the hidden taxes that we're hearing about. And you now, Nancy Boy, you gotta pass over where you put it. Yeah, that's why I'm angry every time I look at that woman's face and hear the words out of her mouth. I'm going to get one of those t-shirts that says, I'm not angry, I'm from Philly. We just got to talk a little louder because they're deaf and they're dumb and they're blind, and we need to explain it very slowly to them that we're not going to let them get away with it. Hands off my health care! Off our neck. The medical device tax alone has already killed so much in progress, innovation, R&D, and it hasn't even been fully implemented yet. I mean, this is the thing about promising that we're going to repeal Obamacare when so much of the damage and consequences are being done right now, and it's got to stop. And you're drawing a line here in Pennsylvania. It's important what you're doing. You're on the front line. You are the warriors that we need, and the work that you do, I have to tell you, is so important. You know, you see me in a little box on TV every week, and it's about getting the message out there, but none of that matters if we don't have you, the heart and soul of the movement for limited government and restoring constitutional principles on the ground, in your neighborhoods, in your cities, in this state, that is going to make all the difference in the world. And you know, we're angry, but we're also happy warriors because we realize how blessed we are to live in this country. Very heated and pitched battle. You know it, and I know it, because there are people on the other side of this fight for whom the mantra, by any means necessary, is how they live their lives. But we do things with integrity, we respect the rule of law, and we respect the incredible legacy that our founding fathers gave to us. That is what binds us. And I have to tell you, as much as I can get discouraged by the ad hominem attacks and by the dirty, corrupt tactics that the other side will adopt. I am so inspired when I see so many peaceful, peace-loving people, the people in this room, and activists like you, and everyone who is working with and for Americans for prosperity. It's really, this is what gives me hope for change. And this election cycle, I think, and what we're experiencing now, and the rise of the Tea Party over the last several years, really puts everything into the starkest relief possible. We are for prosperity. They are for dependency. We are for freedom. They are for entitlement. We understand American history. And we know that freedom is the ultimate stimulus. It is the most effective stimulus in human life. People are not stuffing themselves in cargo boxes and crawling across broken glass to get into Cuba and Sweden. Well, maybe Sean Penn. And maybe these people will keep promising that if the election doesn't go their way, that they're going to go to Europe or Cuba. Will finally fulfill their promises. I would be happy to pay for the one-way ticket. Yeah, I heard there's some good golf courses in Cuba. Yes, that's right, that's right. Look, the message that I want you to come away with is that no matter how difficult things get between now and November and the year after that and the year after that Americans have fought these battles before. And we know, as my good friend Maklin always talks about, that this is the fundamental choice between liberty and tyranny. And that in a lot of cases, tyranny doesn't take the scariest form. Sometimes it's tyranny by little bits and bytes. And it's tyranny with a smile on its face. And it's tyranny that poses under the guise of civility or bipartisanship. And as much as our starkest enemies pose great dangers to us, sometimes it's the people within our own side who pay lip service to the principles that we would die for. And those are the ones who need their feet held to the fire the most. And you understand that, because this is why so much of the grassroots limited government has risen up over the last couple of years, because we're dissatisfied with the people who have said that they are leaders, when they're not just leading from behind, they're leading from under the skirts of the people who are our admitted enemies. And the work that you do now is going to pay off for future generations. I think that we're going to see the next generation of great, conservative, limited government leaders come out of it. The problem with so many of the Republican surrenderists and capitulationists is that they get sent to Washington and then they forget why they're there. And they think that their only agenda is to get re-elected and stay there until the moth is grown in their back. These people do not represent conservative values. They represent Washington values. Now, I always say that sunlight is the best disinfectant. but the ballot box is the ultimate sanitizer. And the last several years have given us some great operating slogans, one of them being, of course, you can't fix stupid, but you can vote it out. And with regard to these health insurance exchanges, there is still time to persuade people who are deluded that they can take the right course of action. The next concrete deadline is November 16th. This is when the federal Obamacare bureaucrats are demanding that each and every state hand over their blueprint for handing over health care to the federal government. The clock is ticking on that. And you need to make sure that your message gets across that no, you will not surrender. There's the sign right there. Corporate exchanges equals Obamacare. $34 million more. Just say no. Did you hear that? Let it ring. No! I want to thank you, and I'll be hanging out here, and I want to meet you all and say hi, and just make sure that when you say no, he says no, and other states will follow you as well.